from Rixie. This is Debuff, and I'm your host, Steve Skeels. Today I'll be talking about the Game Gear Micro, Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC, and Wasteland 3. Sega just announced the Game Gear Micro, and I'll say it's certainly something. The Micro is a tiny recreation of the brick of a handheld they released back in 1990. I've been all for these mini retro console releases, but I think this one might be my least favorite so far. At about 3.15 inches wide and 1.7 inches tall, it's even smaller than a Game Boy Micro, and honestly I think it looks pretty difficult to play on. The screen itself is only about 1.15 inches diagonally, versus the Game Boy Micro's 2, and the buttons on this are tiny. The trailer did show an attachment that goes over the screen to magnify it, which is just like the original big window accessory for the Game Gear back in the day. But I don't know how that's going to help most people, as it's currently only available if you pre-order all 4 colors. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of this, and it isn't even really about the size. I'd still get one just to take around when I want something small to slip into my pocket, but the way they're handling the games is just sad. Each color has 4 different games on it, so you either pick what you like the best, or you buy more than one. They're only listed for pre-order in Japan right now, but the price is approximately $50 for one Game Gear Micro. And if you want to buy the 4-pack with the magnifying glass, the price seems to be a bit higher on most listings, even up to $300. I did see it listed for about $200 on one site though, which makes a lot more sense. The bottom line is that I think Sega is pretty nuts if they think this is what people want. I would get over the size if they put a substantial library on it, but $50 for 4 Game Gear games, or the price of a Switch to get the 4-pack, that's pretty ridiculous. Needless to say, it probably isn't worth the money unless you're a big Sega fan, or are a sucker for nostalgia like me. I owned one of the originals, so sadly I'll feel compelled to buy one. Don't be like me. A trailer for the Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC was released on June 2nd, along with some details on the content to be included. The first DLC, titled The Isle of Armor, will be released on June 17th. The Isle is in the Galar region and is home to some new Pokemon and includes a dojo for Pokemon battles. New Pokemon listed are Galarian Slowbro, Gigantamax Venusaur and Blastoise, and the new legendary Pokemon Urshifu. Besides that though, they've included some new features, like the Cramomatic, which will turn 4 unwanted items into a new item. There are new tutor moves, which can be taught to Pokemon in exchange for the Armorite ore. And last, they mentioned a Max Soup, which is a dish you can get that will unlock the hidden potential of some Pokemon, allowing them to Gigantamax. I think the second DLC sounds a bit better. It's titled Crown Tundra, and while it does not yet have a release date, it is slated for fall this year. Crown Tundra includes 2 new legendary Pokemons, an Electric and Dragon type. They also confirmed Galarian versions of the legendary birds, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, which I think will be a nice bit of nostalgia for longtime fans. This expansion will have what they are calling Dynamax Adventure, where you get to team up with 3 friends to go hunt Dynamax Pokemon, and it will also have the Galarian Star Tournament, which will allow players to both face as well as team up with Sword and Shield NPCs. Overall, I think the 2 DLCs sound like a pretty decent amount of content for a $30 expansion pass, but coming as 2 separate releases may make it feel like there isn't very much to it. I'll admit, I'm not a big Pokemon guy, so I did not pick up Sword or Shield. I know there was some controversy, but almost everyone I know enjoyed it. And personally, even though I didn't play the games, I think this DLC sounds pretty good, and I think it'll add some more content to a game that I know some people felt was a bit lacking. It's a cool idea for them to release this, instead of their typical strategy of releasing a whole new game. In general, I think if you enjoyed the base game, you'll probably want this, but I'd make sure it's worth the money for you, and maybe wait for some reviews to see how much value is in it. Last up is Wasteland 3. This is an upcoming game developed by In Exile Entertainment and published by Deep Silver. It is to be released on August 28th for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. They've released 3 developer diaries about this, and I'm going to summarize most of the information here, but if you want the full details, I'd go check those out. If you don't know, the Wasteland games are tactical RPGs set in post-apocalyptic America, after a nuclear holocaust between the USA and Soviet Union destroyed society in 1998. The first game took place about 100 years later, and the sequels take place some years after that. At the end of Wasteland II, the player characters, known as the Rangers, were in trouble after destroying their own base. In the third game, the Patriarch of Colorado has given them the opportunity to rebuild in exchange for helping him out. So the game begins with the Rangers traveling to Colorado. They've said that the story is going to be much more cohesive than Wasteland 2's episodic nature, and will include multiple endings depending on the paths you take. There will be a significant amount of player agency, deciding whether you want to take the route of negotiating, fighting, or helping those you come across. You can even screw yourself by doing things like killing all the merchants you find, or maybe you recruit someone who is a well-known psychopath, and now former allies may be wary of your group. The developers have put a lot of effort into creating multiple options, and even released one developer diary focused solely on the choices and consequences. Their goal is to allow for heavy role-playing. They want you to do what you want, and want to let you have ways to progress no matter what that is. They've said that they will telegraph your choices and the world's reaction to those choices. There will be difficult decisions along the way, and you must decide what you're willing to live with. They've even written for obscure choices that players may take, both on large and small scales. Even if you're not punished for these choices, you will see the consequences echo throughout the game. I always love that in games, and I think it sounds like it'll be a pretty personal experience. That's not even to mention the actual combat and gameplay outside of the player decisions. Even the character building will allow you to make people that you want to play the game with. You'll select stats and combat styles for each member of your group, and you can give them quirks which provide bonuses alongside a heavy penalty. One such example they mentioned is the Pyromaniac quirk, which allows the character to do a lot of damage with explosives, but gives the character a chance to light themselves on fire when attacking. You can make characters fulfill specific combat roles, like a glass cannon that will start off strong and take down a few enemies rapidly, but will easily die in a few turns. The goal in this game is to create a team of those specialists. You want to diversify each member of your party in their role and in their ammo. The developers have said that well-rounded characters will end up falling by the wayside compared to your specialized units. Additionally, there are special skills that are tied to weapon types and roles, like tearing off armor or sweeping AoE damage. Ammo is scarce, so you want to make sure that you have a wide range of options in battle, and that each character is using a different weapon, preferably a few using melee. And even if you don't want to make your own characters, they've added what they've called character duos. These are package sets of 2 predefined characters that will also add some flavor, as they are intended to know each other and will show their relationship throughout the game between banter. They'll feel more like standard characters rather than ones created by a player. I think this game looks really cool. The combat and role-playing options are pretty extensive, and I'm excited to see how it plays when it releases. If you're into games with player choice or tactical games in general, I would keep your eye out for this game later this summer. Debuff is hosted by me, Steve Skeels, edited and mixed by Mason Carlton. Follow us on Instagram at DebuffPod. That's DebuffPod. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.